Hello, hello, high level listeners. Welcome to our latest English phrasal verb video all about money. Since talking about money can sound a bit serious, English speakers love using phrasal verbs to sound more casual or a bit softer to lighten the topic in a casual way. In fact, sometimes we don't even mention the word money at all.
Yes, that's right. So if you've ever heard native speakers talking about splashing out on things, dipping into savings, or coming into money, then don't worry if you didn't understand them. We're here to help you understand phrasal verbs better than ever before.
That's right. So, like usual, we're going to share 10 commonly spoken English phrasal verbs talking about money and give you some example sentences so you can feel confident using the new vocabulary right away. Like always in these videos, we'll explain each phrasal verb very simply, giving you a clear definition and how these phrasal verbs are used specifically when talking about money. I know there's lots of phrasal verbs out there that have multiple meanings, but we find that this is a little bit easier to focus on one topic. Then we'll give you 4 example sentences for each one to help you understand how it's commonly used, and usually in different grammar tenses as well. So let's get started with our first phrasal verb, to save up for something. To save up for something. Now you might be asking yourself, well, what's the difference between to save for something and to save up for something? Well, when we save money, we are going to keep that money so that we can buy something in the future. So when we have an idea, maybe I want to save $500, then I want to slowly save up to that number that I want, right? So of course I can say I'm saving for a new bike. I'm saving for a new bike. But that kind of means that, I'm putting money into my savings account, but I'm not sure exactly how much it's going to cost. But if I know exactly how much I want to save, I'm saving up for a new bike. I'm saving up for a new bike. She's been saving up for a trip to Europe. She's been saving up. So over time, I have been saving up. She has been saving up. She's been saving up for a trip to Europe.
Yes, definitely, like Kat said, it's when you have a goal or an idea or something that you really want to buy. Once you have that target, you can save up for that thing, like a bike, a holiday, or it took me a year to save up for my first car. So I wanted to buy my first car, and it took me a year to save up for my first car. One more example, we're saving up for a down payment on a house. So right now, every week or every month, we are saving up for a down payment on a house. A down payment is like a deposit. Okay, next phrasal verb is actually 2, but they're very similar but different. First one, pay off. Pay something off. Now it's something off. I pay off a loan, pay off a debt, or pay off a fee. If I need to pay a company, a government building, or a government agency, or something like that, a subscription, if I don't pay everything right now, and I pay little bits every month over a few months, then I pay that off. Again, usually this could be debt, it could be a fine, it could be a subscription, or a big payment that maybe you don't have right now. So I pay off the loan or pay off the debt. I might say, he finally paid off his student loan. So he paid off something. He paid off an amount. The second one is pay back. And now I pay you back. I pay someone back. So I'll pay you back next time. I paid my friend back, or I paid my wife back. So she borrowed money from her parents and paid them back in full. So to recap, you pay off something and you pay someone back.
I think it sounds kind of funny if I said, oh yeah, I paid off my friend. That sounds like this is some sort of conspiracy where I have paid them maybe to not say something bad about me. So
Yeah,
if
it's
the
another one.
government paid someone off, then they wanted them to be quiet about something. So it does have a completely different meaning. So I like what Mark said. You pay off a thing. You pay off your debt, you pay off your loan, you pay off the bank, then you pay someone back. Thanks so much for the 20 bucks. I'm paying it back. Here's 20 bucks back. So I need to pay off my credit card debt. Especially this sounds like something that is formal, right? I have a credit card. I, rack up. That's another one that we didn't even mention. I rack up the bills, right? So I spend the money, I rack up those bills, but then I need to pay it off at the end of the month or else I'll get charged fees. So I need to pay off my credit card debt. I'll pay you back next week, I promise. So someone loaned me some money, someone gave me some money, and I said, oh, thank you so much. I'll pay you back next week, I promise. Our next phrasal verb, this works really well when you are paying for something as a group, to chip in. To chip in. To chip in is usually when a group of people, each person gives a little bit of money to help pay for something or to help buy something together. Okay, so let's all chip in for a birthday gift for Sarah. That means I'm giving a little bit of money. I'm not going to buy Sarah a gift. I'm going to give a little bit of money so the whole group can buy her one big, even probably nicer gift than every single person just giving a small gift. So let's all chip in for a birthday gift for Sarah. We chipped in to buy a new coffee machine for the office. We chipped in to buy a new coffee machine for the office. So everybody gave a little bit, maybe $5, $10, $15. We put all the money together and then we bought something nice together. We all chipped in.
Yeah, I think a coffee machine is a good example because for one person, a coffee machine is quite expensive. But if more people just pay a little bit, you can have more money and buy something bigger and nicer. So maybe everyone chipped in a few dollars for the pizza. Everyone chipped in a few dollars for the pizza. I'm happy to chip in if we're going out for dinner. I'm happy to chip in if we're going out for dinner. That's a nice way to offer a little bit of money. If you want to go to a restaurant in a big group, everyone should chip in if they ate something. Okay, next one. To run up. Again, this is run up something. Usually, you run up debt, or you run up bills, or you run up your credit card. This is when you use your credit card a lot, and the amount that you owe the bank goes up and up and up. If you run up bills, then your bills get bigger and more expensive. This is something you want to avoid, but sometimes it's hard. It's easy to run up credit card bills when you go on holiday. When you're young, you might run up pretty big bills the first time you live alone and you're still understanding how to manage your money. Yes, one example could be she ran up a large phone bill while traveling abroad. Sometimes using your phone in a foreign country has fees and charges, and you may not realize until you get home and you realized you ran up a big bill. One more example. The company ran up a significant deficit last year. This is a bit more formal, maybe something you would read in the news. They ran up a deficit. So again, the amount that they were losing increased. So this is usually something when you're irresponsible or you make a mistake and spend too much. You run up your bills.
So speaking of running up your bills, we also say racking up a huge bill. Rack up sounds a little bit more informal. Do you use this as well, Mark? Rack up?
Probably less often, but I know it for sure.
Okay. So I would say, yes, if you're kind of in a more formal situation, run up a bill would be very common. But in it more informal, rack up those huge bills. Oh man, I can't believe I racked up such a huge credit card bill. So racked up, run up, ran up. So we have He ran up a huge bill on his credit card. Or he racked up a huge bill on his credit card. Be careful not to run up too much debt. Basically, I guess the sentence would mean be careful not to get into too much debt, right? Because you can get into debt and run up a bill. So you might be out at a restaurant and then, you had a drink and you paid for a drink with another friend, and then you look at the bill at the end and you've really racked up quite the bill. So, oops, I didn't realize I was spending so much. Be careful not to rack up too much debt. The next one is kind of more of a treat yourself when you are feeling like you do want to spend some money and you're not really racking up the bill, but you are choosing to splash out. To splash out on something is to spend a lot of money on something special. Okay, this is a more positive one. I would really like to do this. I'd like to spend more money on this. So we splashed out on a fancy dinner for our anniversary. It's a nice time. It's our anniversary, and we really wanted to spend the money on something nice and special. So we splashed out on a fancy dinner for our anniversary. She splashed out on a new designer handbag. Maybe she's been saving up her money. Maybe things have been going well, so she splashed out a little. She splashed out on a new designer handbag.
Yes, another example. I'm going to splash out on a vacation this year. It's one of those phrasal verbs with 3 words, splash out on. And if I'm going to splash out on a vacation, it sounds like I don't take a vacation every year, but this time I want to do something special. Maybe I've had a really stressful time and I really want to relax and I really want to have as much fun as possible. I'll worry about the bills and the debt later. Right now, I want to have fun. I want to splash out on a vacation this year. Another example, they splashed out on a luxury hotel for their honeymoon. So again, like the anniversary, a super special occasion, you want to celebrate it and remember it by making it as nice as you can. So you probably spend a bit more money on a bigger room, some room service, some nice restaurants, a hotel with a nice view. You'd splash out on a luxury hotel. The next one is dip into. This is actually not a good thing. Maybe you're preparing for emergencies, accidents, or for the future, so you have some savings, and suddenly there's an emergency. Your car breaks down, you have an accident, and you need some money now. Your savings could be your only source of extra money, and you have to dip into. In my head, I imagine like a jar of pennies or coins that you've been saving into. So you literally dip your hand into the penny jar. I think of the opening scene of the movie Up, where they have a big jar of coins and they break it because they need a new car or they need a new house. And yeah, so when you dip into your savings, you use your savings. You don't want to do it, but it's your only choice. Dip into it. Dip into it doesn't mean taking all of it, so you have 0. It's just dipping into it. It's taking a little bit of it, maybe up to half, but it's not taking all of your savings. It's just dipping into it because there's an emergency or something and you need the money right now. One example sentence could be, I don't like dipping into my savings, but sometimes it's necessary. I don't like dipping into my savings, but sometimes it's necessary. Dipping into savings is a common phrase, but you can also dip into a fund, dip into my retirement. So that's the money I'm saving for retirement. For example, she dipped into her retirement fund to help her daughter with tuition. She dipped into her retirement fund to help her daughter with tuition.
So sometimes we're trying to justify something, which means, we could save the money next month, or maybe we can just dip into one of our funds to help pay for it right now. So I'm sure we can just dip into the rainy day fund and replace it next month. So we have that money in savings. A rainy day fund is kind of an emergency fund in a way. So it's supposed to be extra money in the savings in case we need it, right? I'm sure we can just dip into the rainy day fund and replace it or put that money back. Remember, Mark said we don't normally dip in and take all of it, just a little dip, right? Just a little dip. So I'm sure we can just dip into the rainy day fund and replace it next month. We dipped into our emergency fund to buy a new fridge. Now, this sounds like we had no other choice, right? We have an emergency fund. We do not have a refrigerator fund. Maybe it broke. Maybe it was too expensive to get repaired. So we dipped into our emergency fund to buy a new fridge. All right, our next phrase is when you do not want to spend this money, but you have to. And it's not usually because there's an emergency, it's just because something unexpected happened and you're surprised at how expensive it is. So this is quite informal, usually for me, and it's to fork out some money, okay? To fork out some cash. So to fork out means to spend a lot of money on something when you don't really want to. I had to fork out a lot of money for the car repairs. I'm kind of mad. I use this. This is why this is quite informal because I might even think it's unfair. And I might be mad that the mechanic charged me so much. I had to fork out a lot of money for the car repairs and it still doesn't work, right? So I'm kind of mad about this. We had to fork out 50 bucks in fees. Again, I can only really say this with like, ugh, can you believe that? I'm I'm mad. I'm mad about this. Like I can't believe I had to fork out 50 bucks in fees. Now, I'm bringing out the word bucks, B-U-C-K-S. This is a slang word for American dollars, okay? I'd fork out 50 bucks for that. I mean, I really just feel like, Mark, can you believe that I had to fork out 50 bucks for that? So $50 or 50 US dollars would be 50 bucks. That would be a very common word to use, especially if I'm pretty mad about that. I can't believe I had to fork that out.
Some more examples. I don't want to fork out for a new phone, but mine is really old. So again, a new phone is an expensive purchase. And maybe I'm surprised by how much a new phone is. Maybe I have the money, but I don't really want to spend it. But my phone is really old. It's slow. Maybe the screen's cracked. The camera's rubbish. The battery's really short. So I don't want to fork out for a new phone, but mine is really old. So I'm reluctant to fork out money. One more example. They had to fork out a fortune for their wedding. Again, a fortune is a lot of money. Possibly more than you expected or more than you think it should be. Weddings, people can spend lots of money. They can run up huge debts paying for big, fancy weddings with lots of guests and music and flowers. You can fork out a fortune for their wedding. Again, it sounds like they were surprised or a little bit upset by how much it cost. It was more than they thought. Okay, next phrasal verb is a little bit more official. When you're making a big purchase, maybe a house or something like a new car or maybe an expensive holiday, you can put down a deposit or put down a payment. A deposit is sometimes 10% or 20% of the full price. You just pay a little bit first to show that I'm serious, I'm going to do this, I'm not going to change my mind. You put down a deposit. So you pay some money now and you're going to pay the rest later. So sometimes when you rent cars, you need to put down a deposit to reserve the car. You need to put down a deposit to reserve the car. You also hear down payment. A down payment is another word for deposit, like we mentioned. So it's they put down a small down payment on the car. They put down a small down payment on the car. So they only gave them like 10% or 20% of the value, and they will pay the rest later, maybe over a few months or in one big lump. Who knows? But you put down money first, and then you can get the car and pay the rest later.
Mark was talking about a down payment and putting it down. Sometimes for car commercials, you'll hear no money down, which means you don't put any money down. There is no down payment. That means you can go sign the paperwork. You'll start paying next month. You don't have to put any money down. So we put down a deposit on the house and we'll pay the rest when we move in. This kind of sounds like a rental agreement. It's very common to put down a deposit. That means that you will give the owner of the house some money. So in case there's any damages or any problems, that money is safe with the owner. So you can't damage the house in any way. We put down a deposit on the house and we will pay the rest. Maybe it's probably the rent, first and last month's rent, when we move in. So we will pay the rest when we move in. I put down $250 on the new laptop and we'll pay the balance next month. So the last sentence I said, I will pay the rest. When we put money down, it's usually to say, I'm very serious about this purchase. I want to make this purchase. Keep that laptop for me. I will put $250 down. And then I will pay the balance or the final amount, the rest of the money, next month. All right, so we have another word for saving here, and that's to put money aside. Put money aside. And aside is one word, and it's like we're putting money to the side, putting money aside. And this is another way to say saving, to save money for later. I put aside some cash each month for my vacation. So I'm saving up. So I'm putting money aside. So I put aside some cash each month for my vacation. I'm saving up, right? So I'm putting money aside. I usually think of this as, I get my paycheck and I don't just look at my big paycheck. I immediately rip off some of that cash and put it to the side, right? So I put aside some money each month for my vacation. She's putting aside some money for her children's education. She's putting aside some money. So maybe she has a large savings, but she's going to take a piece of that and put it aside. Maybe she'll make a brand new savings account for her kids and for their college tuition. She's putting aside some money for her children's education.
Yes, it doesn't have to be big purchases either, like vacations or tuition. It can even be small things. I'll put some money aside for dinner tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Like if it's £50 or something, a relatively small amount, you can still put that aside. You'll just use that money later. You don't want to accidentally spend it and then have nothing. However, another example, it's important to put some money aside for retirement. It's important to put some money aside for retirement. I think in all of our examples, we've said some money. Mm-hmm. Put aside money feels like a sort of instruction, but I've put aside some money for this. We've put aside some money for a rainy day. We've put aside some money for a rainy day. Kat's already explained, a rainy day is for an emergency. Okay, last one on the list is to come into money. So this is when you receive money. If you come into money, you receive it, and it's kind of a surprise. Like, oh, wow. Maybe you get a phone call from a family member or a phone call from a lawyer, and they say, hey, I've got good news. And you might usually inherit this money. If someone in your family passes away and in their will, they've left you a house or some valuable property or just money, then you came into that money. Congratulations. The reason we have a phrasal verb for this is because money is often quite a private, personal thing. And if you come into money, a lot of people don't want to announce how they got it. Maybe you won it in a game or in a lottery. Maybe you won it gambling. Maybe you inherited it. But in all of those situations, we'll say, come into money. Oh, I came into some money. Or she came into some money. It means we don't know the details, but she suddenly has more money. Again, money is a very private thing, especially in the UK. Even some like couples and families don't talk about it amongst themselves. So they'll try to be quite vague, and this is the phrasal verb to help them do that. So they came into a large inheritance from their aunt. They came into a large inheritance from their aunt. That's very specific, actually. But another thing you could say is, I hope to come into some money someday. I hope to come into some money someday. Again, I don't know how. I don't care how. I just want to come into some money.
Now, we don't usually know how they came into money, but like Mark said, it could be a number of things. I wouldn't say that you would work for this kind of money unless maybe you came into some sort of money at work. It could be a bonus. Again, we don't know. We don't know where this money came from. It's usually a lot of money, but we don't know how much either. Okay, so again, very vague, but it's a really good way to talk about, I don't know where they got the extra money, but they came into it somehow. She came into a lot of money when her grandmother died. A lot of money, dunno. When her grandmother died, don't know much about that either, but she came into a lot of money when her grandmother died. Our final one, he came into a small fortune when he sold his business. Okay, here's another way that he came into some money. We're not sure how much, but he came into a small fortune. That's a lot. When he sold his business. All right, excellent. So there you have it. Another amazing list of useful phrasal verbs and phrases that you can use the next time you're talking about money in English. Which one was your favorite phrase from the video today? Were there any phrasal verbs that were new for you? Let us know in the comments below. We read and reply to each one, so let's get in touch.
Yes, we do. If you really like the video, you can like and subscribe to us as well. We post at least twice a week. And along with every video, we also provide a PDF transcript, which is every word and every sentence of the episode. If you click the link in the description below, you can join us as a high-level listening member, and then you get the new PDF transcripts posted in our community and all the ones before. So you can get 160, at least, different videos at this point, word for word. So you can join us as a member in the link below.
Thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate it. And see you next time for our next English video here on High Level Listening. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.